Hey everyone, and welcome to another episode of We Need to Talk. Today on the show, I have actor, creative director, writer, producer, husband, father, and most importantly, my friend, Michael Shepperd. Michael, thanks for joining me.
It is my pleasure to be here.
You know, I didn't even make an outline, and I told you this earlier because Michael and I have known each other for entirely too long, and I was like, we're just going to talk because we have a lot to talk about.
We know each other so long. My daughter, who is now 14,
I can't.
14, you were her first teacher.
Yeah. How old was she? 2.5, 3?
She was 2.5.
Oh my gosh. I remember the first time you came and I was like, oh my God, a black dad. Yes.
It's true, though. It's true.
It was. I was so excited. I was like, yes. And I loved meeting you and your husband. And, seeing Maxie grow on your Facebook has been a joy. It reminds me how old I am, but it's been a pleasure to see her grow up.
I'm sorry. Do you see all this? I'm serving you like J. Jonah Jameson realness with just a white right here.
You wear it well, though. You wear it well. Okay, Michael, we have a lot to talk about because obviously we are in alignment with a lot of our views and the things that we say on Facebook. Now, you end up in Facebook jail way more. I actually have never been in Facebook jail, but you end up in Facebook jail often.
How have you not been in Facebook jail?
I have not been in Facebook jail because I know how to word things in a way that doesn't put me in jail. You, on the other hand, don't hold back.
But see, here's the deal. I have had friends who have used the word coon on Facebook, never had a problem. I use the word coon spelled with a K, and I get thrown in jail. I refer to Kanye West as Kanye, I get thrown in jail. I don't understand. It's like, if I put the word WHITE, white, on Facebook, I get thrown in jail.
That's interesting to me because I say white people all the time in my statuses, and I've never gotten put in Facebook jail. So I don't know what it is. It's like you're flagged because you and a couple of my other friends, they're on like the no-fly list for Facebook. Like no matter what, they're just waiting for you to say something, and you guys always end up in jail. It's really crazy.
Yeah.
But it's set up to protect white people, I'm convinced.
Well, it's all to protect white people. The whole thing, the whole system.
Yeah.
Because, you can have racist organizations, putting out statements and letters and blasting exactly what they're going to do with the N-words, and nothing happens. It's freedom of speech. But a black person, and there's been studies that are being done about that. Yeah. That black folks are targeted more frequently on Facebook than anybody else.
I just talked about this on another episode of podcast that there's a Twitter thread that I saw that was talking about white culture, which is interesting because we always say that white people don't have a culture, but this really pointed it out. And I don't know if you saw this on my status because I shared it, but it was saying that white people don't have the equivalent to real talk that black people do. And so when you are actually direct with them, they view it as like a threat, or they get scared. They don't know how to react to it because they have been taught to not deal with conflict.
That's true. They've never had to deal. I shouldn't say never, because that's a definitive term, but I would say 98.9% of the time, white folks don't have to deal with that conflict.
Yeah.
At all. And I had this conversation the other day about the fact that white people, the reason they get so upset about so many things is because they've never had any opposition to anything they've done. So once there's a moment of pushback, then it's like, wait, you can't do that to me. Why would you do that to me? I can't do, pearl clutching and, sweat and all that. And, right. And because, they've never had to have any other conversation because everything is centered around whiteness.
Yeah. And that's where the privilege comes in. You have so many people that think that privilege doesn't exist, but just you saying that is proof that it does exist.
Oh, it absolutely exists. Yeah. I mean, whether people want to believe it or not, that's, because, and the people who don't want to believe it are the people who don't want to have these conversations, which then perpetuate everything over and over and over again. If we had, people who would just say, you know what, I understand, a large swath of people who said, I understand my privilege. I understand that I need to get out of the way of myself and I need to listen. We'd be so much better off.
Right.
But again, as you said before, the minute the conflict comes up, immediately it's like, no, I'm white. What do you mean? I'm good. I'm on your side too.
Right. Absolutely. So, in terms of whiteness, though, because we know that whiteness is a default, and specifically in the industry that you work in, how has that affected you as an actor, as a director, as a writer, as a producer, knowing that the default always kind of has to end up going back to white people in order to make uh, the mass consumer feel comfortable in the content that they're taking in?
Honestly, I don't do that. I don't do it. Um, I'm the artistic director of Celebration Theater, which is the oldest, continuously producing lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer, questioning, intersex, two-spirited, allied, asexual, cisgender, gender non-binary, gender non-conforming theater in the country.
Come on,
And
inclusive.
come on, inclusive. So, and one of the things when I became the artistic director there, almost 15 years ago, I was very clear that the message that we're going to send out is not towards what we look at as a queer society, which is, cisgendered white queer men, between the ages of 25 and 40. We're going to reach out. And I got lots of pushback about it, and I got called, can I say the N word for real on your show?
Yeah, go for it. You can say it.
I just want to be clear because I got called nigga by gay people over and over in emails and phone calls. Because I wanted to bring women's stories into the theater, Black women's stories. I wanted to bring in, all these underserved community stories into the theater. I wanted to cast things that looks like America with a C as opposed to the KKK most people, are accustomed to. So but I've been pushing for that agenda for a long time. And I think that's why there are several people within the theater community who absolutely love me and several who see me coming and they go the other way because they don't want to deal with their issues. It's not mine. I'm doing exactly what I'm supposed to do. I'm doing exactly what I am supposed to be doing.
Yeah. Yeah.
But again, when you're centered around your own whiteness, it's like, and all of a sudden a 6'6", 280-pound Black man walks into the room and they're like, where can I go? And I'm like, nowhere. There's nowhere you can go.
In terms of theater, though, do you feel like there's been more diversity in recent years?
I think on stage there has been an uptick. Behind the table, no. Absolutely behind the table. I mean, it's funny. I've had other artistic directors of theater companies who have come to me and said, "Oh, can you help me? I'm looking for a Black director." And I'm like, dude, my 15, 20 productions I've directed in Los Angeles and 2 Ovation Awards and several other awards, discount me as a Black director because you feel comfortable around me?
Yeah.
Is it that? Because white people, I will be very clear. There are white people who feel very comfortable around me.
Yeah.
Because of just my own personality and my own nature, until I get to, spousing the real reasons why I get angry all the time. But it's like that I'm often not counted in the real Black folk category, because it's like, because they've grown so accustomed to me just being there and being part of the conversation that they go, oh, we need someone really Black. I'm sorry, I'm still super Black.
And you're proud of it too.
And it's February too. I'm blackity black ass Black.
Right. So in terms of behind the table, where do you feel there's the biggest lack of representation? Directing, writing, producing, stage managing, like what specifically do you think that there needs more diversity in theater?
Keep going. You are listing them all.
Music directors, all of the.
You are listing them all. Yeah, and a part of that is because culturally, we do not send our children into the arts unless there's a big affinity for it. Like they go, oh, you're playing the piano at 3. There may be a career there. Although even in my own family, my nephew, and I'll say it, my nephew started playing the piano at like 2 years old by ear. By the time he was 11 years old, he could play hear it once and play it.
Mm.
And I was like, oh, wait, do you know how much? And I just said to my brother, I said, do you know how much a Black musical director can make? You know, I said, we need to get him into a music school. He needs to learn music. I said, his career would be phenomenal.
Mm.
As a Black man in this business who can, who knows music inside and out, I said, he can write his own ticket. No, that music is only for the church.
Mm.
So I was like, so again, that story tells me we don't want to send our children, into this business. I mean, my family still doesn't understand what I do, and I've been doing it for 40 years.
Yeah.
So it's just like.
Do you think there's a level of fear behind that, though?
I think there's a little. It's so. Yes, there is, and I'm trying to, carve out an answer for that. That is not the fear that people feel is of the unknown, because storylines and are not created for us. So if we don't see ourselves, and if we don't see ourselves allowed to see ourselves on stage, in movies and television, then why would that be an option for us? I think that's the fear.
Yeah.
So, I mean, for me, I knew that in second grade when I played the horse that pulled the carriage in Cinderella. I knew that's what I wanted to do, but I didn't have imagery to connect that I could do it until I was in seventh grade. No, I'm sorry, I was in sixth grade when the high school came to the grade school and they did a few numbers from Pajama Gang. And there was a very tall, skinny Black man in the chorus. And I went, wait, we can do that?
Yeah.
And I immediately went, that's what I want to do. It's all I want to do.
That's exactly why representation matters. And I feel that people still don't understand, whoa, why does it need to be a Black person? It's because of exactly what you just said. Why would a child think that this is a viable option for them as a career when they're older, when they have never seen anybody that looks like them do it and do it successfully? It's that simple.
Exactly. And and that's just, so imagine not seeing people behind the scenes.
Yeah.
Not seeing the stage managers, not seeing the the producers, not seeing the choreographers. So if you don't see it, you go, I think I want to do this, but it's scary for everybody.
Be the first. Yeah. Man. So. That's I love that you put it that way, because it just dawned on me as you were speaking that that's why it matters. Obviously, we know that representation matters, but I can just see myself younger, and I'm lucky that I grew up, seeing a lot of Black figures actually on television and film. We had the whole 90s and early 2000s renaissance with all these Black. Oh yeah. But I mean, we had everything, we had everything back then. So I was lucky enough to have that representation, but I can only imagine, not that I'm trying to date you or anything, but age you, but I can only imagine you probably didn't have.
It's so fun. I mean, I'm from an era, and I hate to say this, I'm from the era where we used to call people and say, there's Black folks on the TV. Because, it
was a shocker.
It was shocking. I mean, we would call and go, don't forget Flip Wilson's on tonight. Flip Wilson show is on. You gonna watch Julia? And then you call your friends after Julia. Did you see that episode of Julia? That's, because that's what we had. And it's so funny. The whole thing about representation, the most heartbreaking story that I have is we took the kids to go see Into the Woods, the movie, the film version, which I don't recommend.
I saw it. I'm with you.
Yeah. And after the movie, and the kids were very much into the story. They loved the story, the fairy tales and all of that. And after the story, we're talking, after the movie, we were driving away and we're talking about the movie. And my son, so just so everyone knows, my son is white and my daughter is Black, both adopted. And And I said to my son Sebastian, I said, "Okay, who would you, if they do this at your school, who would you play?" And my daughter Maxie says, "Oh, he played Jack. He'd have to be Jack." She goes, "Yeah, oh, I'd be Jack." And I said, "Well, who do you see yourself playing, Maxie?" And she goes, "Well, I didn't see anyone who looked like me, so I don't know." Mm. And I went, "It's a fairy tale. It's a fucking fairy tale."
Yeah.
And they couldn't put us in the narrative of the fairy tale, except if you watch it again, because I had to. There's one black woman sitting on a balcony, and then the only black representation, and he might be, I don't know whether he's black or Latino, I don't know, but he's the one who does something wrong and gets thrown out. Mm. That's really it. That's what you're showing us.
But I do have to say, the live version of Into the Woods, I was very lucky that I got to see Vanessa Williams do it.
Oh, so did I.
Okay. So I wish Max had the opportunity to see that too.
Yeah, and you know what? And there have been amazing opportunities. We went to go see Matilda. You know, before I did Matilda as well. Yes. We went to go see it at the Amundsen. There was a black girl who was playing Matilda, which immediately you go. And there was some diversity in the cast, and you just went, "Oh, wait a minute." So, and to have that, I was just like, I sat up, I was like, "What?" Because I had no idea of the three Matildas, that there was a Filipino, a white, and a black girl. I'm just like, there you go.
Do you think that will ever not be a shocker to people? Do you think we'll ever get to that point? Because I hate going to see productions on Broadway or watching a television show and being shocked that I see someone that looks like me.
No.
You don't think we'll ever get past that?
No, I don't think so. Which is why I'm very clear on the things that I pay my money to go see.
Yeah.
I'm very clear. It's like if I see an ad for and there's 5 people in the ad for a movie or a play or a musical or something, and I go, whether I know they're all white, I identify them as white because that's what it is. I mean, it's like I still see color. For all y'all out there who say I don't see color, you're wrong. You see color.
Everybody sees color. Everybody. But okay, so with all of the hats that you wear, as a black man, what has been the most challenging role? Acting, being a director, being a producer, what has been the hardest one, specifically as a black man?
In the business or in real life?
In the business.
In the business, I would probably say, there's challenges in all of these things. There's all these challenges. I think acting, because I'm a very specific type. Like I said, I'm 6'6" and 280. Although I started noon this week, so hopefully I get down to 240. But I think it has to be that, because I walk into a room and I don't fit a category. I don't fit a box. And because, again, talking about the people behind the table, they're looking through things mostly through a Eurocentric lens.
Yeah.
And look at me and they go, and they hear my voice and they'll go, "Wait, okay, that's a large black man, but this voice is coming out of this large black man. How do I even register the two things to, put the two things together?" Because, we've all heard the story, but you sound so intelligent. You're so well spoken. And so I think it's that. I think, trying to convince people. Luckily, I have several directors, who are who love working with me, and they will put me in things like an Irish drama, at a Equity House. So I have to learn an Irish accent and live in that world, and people just have to accept that,
there's a black Irishman on stage.
That's what you have to do,
So, you're very vocal on how you feel about a lot of things going on in the world, as you should be. But have you ever found that it's affected your career in any way, shape, or form?
No, oddly enough, there was an opportunity that just came up recently that I didn't book, but it was like 2 weeks of like a lot. And people were worried. White people were worried. No one black said anything. White people were very worried, including my husband and some friends were like, should you take down some of the stuff you said on Facebook? I'm like, it's not like I'm not going to walk into the room with those same thoughts and feelings and ideas just because, I've erased them. The thing is like, I'm not saying when I post stuff, it's not incendiary. It's not false. I am speaking from a truth. So if someone chooses to not work with me because of my truth, that speaks volumes of them and not me.
Yeah.
So I don't worry about that. And, and I don't think I will ever find out if someone said, I can't work with him because he believes in honesty and truth and make sure that people are treated equal. I can't work with that.
But it's crazy though that people would, that people would back away from working with people from being honest. Like, I just don't know when that started to become a thing. And we call it cancel culture, but it's clearly accountability culture and consequence culture. And that makes sense. But I guess it's never made sense to me why you should silence somebody's voice for telling the truth.
That's the thing. It's silencing a voice for telling the truth. Now, everyone has their own truth.
For sure.
For example, the Gina Heffa from Mandalorian.
Yeah.
She spoke her truth. She honestly believes that the oppression she is feeling is the same as the oppression that Jews during the Holocaust felt. That's her truth. She believes that. There are consequences in that imagery that she has to deal with.
Right.
When I say that the horror and the horribleness of everything that happened during the Holocaust is it's unequal until you get to the Middle Passage. Those are two equally horrifying stories, different, but equally horrifying. So if I put those two horrifying events together and say, Black folks had to go through this and Jews had to go through this, those are on the same playing field in terms of the torture,
and the impact of the community.
And the impact of and the impact has had for centuries. Not centuries, but centuries for Black folks, but over a century for Jews. And it's like, those are two truths based in reality. And that's the difference. When you start equating, the fact that you have to wear a mask to death, well, that's just ignorance.
Completely. And the other thing also is, like, with Gina saying that,
I believe her full name is Gina Heffer.
I'm not calling her that. But with her saying that, is that you chose to be a conservative Republican. That is an active choice. Black people had no choice. Jewish people had no choice. They suffered these situations. They were oppressed. They had no say in the matter. You have chosen to be on the side of ugliness, So it's like, how can you possibly think that the two are comparable? It's wild to me how oppressed some white people want to be. They want to be oppressed.
Again, because we've never had an honest conversation about race in this country.
Yeah, ever. Truly, ever.
Ever. And as long as we can never have that conversation where white people actually sit down and listen and not do whataboutism. I've been through this. I did, I had to go to church, whatever it is. I don't know. I don't know. What does that mean?
Well, a lot of Christians, and even though I call myself that, and I don't, relate to the other side of Christianity, but a lot of Christians feel they're oppressed too, and they feel like their religion's freedom. So maybe that's where you're going with that.
I don't know. But, because you and I have had several conversations about religion and Christianity.
Yeah.
Because you and I are that's where a lot of our things, we're like at 100. We're at 100. But, religion is where we sort of, go our
But I understand why you walked away.
Yeah.
There's a difference, and we coexist, and I respect your views, and I 100% don't blame you. But this is what's worked for me, and I wish more people would realize that I guess that's the problem that I have with Christianity, is that it's so egotistical to think that there's only one way of life, and that's not how we're supposed to be living. I chose to follow the teachings of Christ because that's what works for me. I like what he said and I'm down with it. But if it doesn't work for you, why should I force that upon you? And that's what drives me crazy about a lot of these conservative Christians, is they think, even though none of them are actually following what Jesus said, but that's also a completely different conversation, but they think that because they feel this way, they have that everybody else has to.
Yeah, and that's ridiculous because we're not a monolith. I mean, we are all going to walk in with different ideas and different opinions,
Yeah.
And like you said, and I don't believe I've ever disrespected you for being a Christian.
No. You just told me to come on your other side that you had Kit Kats.
No, this Kit Kats and atheism. Come on, girl. We have Kit Kats.
Stop it. He really did try to sell me with the Kit Kats, though. I was like, if they're vegan, maybe we'll talk. I'm just kidding.
Oh.
Okay, so in terms of politics, and now we have a new administration, what would you personally like to see from Joe Biden and Kamala Harris?
I think what I'd like to see from everyone around everyone. Okay, they have been in a month now?
Yeah,
probably a month this past Tuesday. They have been a month, and already the things that are being done are phenomenal. And the stories that are being created, like, okay, this is what we're doing. Oh, look, we've accomplished it within a month already. That's all great. What I would like is for everyone in the news organizations to stop equating Mr. President Biden with the previous president.
Whatever he was.
Whatever that was. In terms of, there was a thing on CNN today where, there are two untruths with what Mr. Biden said in the speech he gave the other night, in the conversation he had on CNN. There were two untruths. And I'm like, so you're choosing to pull out those two untruths, which were just factually off. It wasn't even that they were like blatant lies. It was like, the numbers don't match what he said. I'm like, okay, when you just came out of a 5-year relationship with someone who did nothing but lie,
Literally all he did was lie. It's kind of impressive if you think of it from like a character standpoint. Like all that man did was lie.
And I just, I just smiling and lying. It's like, it's like every time he says something, it's like, wasn't me. I just keep hearing that song. Wasn't me. Because it's just like, because he got away. The thing that we have to realize, he got away with it.
All of it.
All of it.
All of it. And like, what a horrible message that sends. You can do all of these horrible things, be the most corrupt human being, ascend to the highest office in this country. You can incite an insurrection, and absolutely nothing will happen to you.
And one of the things we don't talk about is the trauma that Black folks have to suffer because of that. Because we're walking down the street and we get pulled over for no reason. They catch us with one joint in our pocket, and we are put away for
25 years.
25 years. And, because of being in the wrong place at the wrong time, doing absolutely nothing, where we have to every day have to witness white folks get away with huge, insurrections, getting away with the fact that, even just Ted Cruz goes to Cancun and with his family.
While his constituents are freezing and have no water or heat. Literally
37 people are now dead because of this and counting. And he goes to Cancun and then comes back and says, my daughters wanted to go, they had a week off of school. There was no school this week, boo, because you can't get there. So, and then he comes back because all of a sudden the heat, they called him the heat. He goes, I was just dropping them off. First of all, you shouldn't be dropping your daughters off during the pandemic. Second of all, why was your wife there? Why'd you have to go? You don't trust her, Miss Heidi? Everybody, you let this other man call her ugly and beat down and raw and ragged. It's the truth. Am I speaking a lie?
At all. You're not lying at all. And that's the other thing. Let me tell you something. If John's boss ever called me all the things that Donald Trump called Ted Cruz's wife, and then he kept working for him, that'd be the last thing he ever did.
Baby, I wish. Ooh,
like what? And then this is the kicker, though. People will still vote for him.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
They will still vote for him, even though he left. They're gonna be like, "Well, he came back." It's like, but he left. He wasn't gonna come back.
Again, he came back. I was forgiven. He got caught in a major ass scandal, not trying to fix it, saying, "Why? Okay, if you just were going overnight, why'd you have a full suitcase, boo? There's a picture of you with a full-size carry-on wheeling behind you." And the fact that there's so much evidence, there's so much physical evidence, and people still go, "Wasn't me." Wasn't me.
And then they'll believe that it wasn't him. That's the thing that drives me crazy. People heard things that Donald Trump said with his own mouth. And they're like, well, no, it's altered or it's taken out of context. How much context do you need?
Yeah. And I just, but again, that I experience that trauma on my body every time I hear that.
Yeah.
And I go, and that's something I don't even think we're talking about. That trauma and what that does to witness. Like if I walked into my office and said, I could, whatever, anything incendiary, and my board would look at me like, okay, you got to go. You got to go. That's just that's what a normal person.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I would love to see, some of these little, Trumpansies, go to their office.
Trumpansies. Not Trump.
Okay.
Not Trumpansies. I've never. Did you just make that up right now?
I heard it somewhere. I'm not going to take credit.
Oh, it's brilliant. That's so funny.
It's just like, I want them to go and do the exact same thing. Go in their offices.
Yeah.
The ones who have not lost their jobs because of consequences, not cancel culture.
Yeah, exactly.
I didn't know I was supposed to be an insurrectionist. Please.
But because, people call it cancel culture and it's clearly not. But do you ever think, for the other side at least, or anybody, because there are people that are liberal that also are held accountable for things. But do you ever think that people will truly even see the error of their ways when they're on the receiving end of what they call cancel culture? Or do you think it's just people are going to continue to make excuses for their actions?
People will continue to make excuses for their actions.
You have no hope in people.
I don't. And I've got children. I'm trying to have hope, but I have children. But I also have children who have not been socializing for a year.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's very difficult. But let's the only time people come to their senses is when they get caught.
Yeah.
Let's look at this whole thing with The Bachelor. Now, I have never watched a single episode of The Bachelor.
Me either.
I just haven't. All I knew is there was 25 seasons before they got a Negro on there. And I say Negro because it feels like the 60s.
Right.
Because that's how long it took, 25 seasons.
Yeah.
So, and then when they finally do this, all of a sudden, all the racism starts unveiling itself. There it is. It's always been there. We always knew. Black folks, from what I gather, every time there's there's a white bachelor, there's like 3 black women or 2 black women, they're gone first week. Mm-hmm. For what I understand, because I don't watch this. I also don't, I'm a queer man who doesn't watch Real Housewives. I find them all disgusting.
Yeah, I get it.
I can't do them. But, all of a sudden, and now one girl got caught because of her truly racist past. And then all of a sudden, 2 other girls are like, oh, well, I did this and I'm sorry. All of a sudden they're going, oh shit, oh shit, oh shit, because again, they thought it was perfectly acceptable to wear a Confederate flag. Mm-hmm. They thought it was totally acceptable because they've never been questioned.
Right.
They've never been asked the question why or you were.
When do you think the shift started to happen, though? I mean, I noticed it in the last couple of years that people are really calling people out on their problematic ways and problematic pasts, but things like that, it was acceptable when they did it. Nobody said anything. So for you, at least from your vantage point, when do you think that the change started to really happen?
I honestly believe people probably said something and they just didn't care.
Okay.
That's the difference. Because I've been speaking out for years when I see it. But no, again, if I'm speaking into a wind tunnel of blackness, our strength and our power wasn't strong enough at that time to get those messages out. Mm-hmm. But now there is this come togetherness that's happening. Now with all Black folks, as we've seen, I ain't trying to start no mess, but if you're going to have that much bad gold in your mouth, you might want to sit down someplace. I ain't going to say your name, rapper. Allegedly.
Alleged.
But, it's like, I think that we have, I call it, I don't think so. I'm a Debbie Downer. I just think that, I hope to see a change happen. And I'm seeing physical change. I'm watching my husband, who's white, meet with 5 other people weekly. And they're reading, I can't, what is it? Yala Saad's book right now. What's it called? The Me and White Supremacy.
Yes.
Yeah. And they're discussing it and they're having conversations. And I'm trying to, do privacy, but I'm living at the door, trying to listen what y'all crackers saying. But, but it's like, and also I just found out, I'll talk about it later, but it's like, and they're honestly having real, true conversations about their whiteness and their privilege. And I'm seeing that with a lot of people. Now I'm also seeing it from a lot of people saying, well, I did a Black show in February, and that should be enough. But,
You're so funny. You're like, I just don't have hope in people.
I don't, I want to, but then again, all I see are just people. Every time there seems to be, 2 steps forward, this 1 step back.
Yeah.
It's a trap. Okay. That's how my brain works. Everything's a song.
It's a good song, though. It's a fun song. Yeah. So what kind of messages are you teaching your children? Because Maxie's clearly going to have a different experience in life than Sebastian is. So what lessons are you teaching them when they go out into the real world?
I'm going to tell you something. We are an incredibly liberal household, and we're a very open and honest household in all of our conversations. And, we talk to our children all the time, and luckily our children talk to us. And what I'm finding that my 18-year-old white son, even though being raised in a queer, biracial household, is still homophobic. And it's still,
wow.
Not because of, because it's in our DNA, it's lodged in his DNA. Because of the messages that he keeps getting.
Yeah.
Just by watching television and movies and music, that it's still there. And he'll say something, I'm like, what, and that causes a long conversation. Because we know we are constantly reprogramming our 18-year-old white child because of the messages that he keeps receiving.
Wow.
Outside of this household.
Yeah. Because that's how they're conditioned to think. Yeah.
Yeah. Even, and then having to have that different conversation with my 14-year-old Black daughter about, all right, like she, how, can I walk to the store? all right, do you have this? Are you wearing this? Are you doing that? Just for walking 2 blocks to the grocery store.
Yeah.
That I don't have to have that conversation with my white child. Because he can walk, it's just, I don't know who else is going through this story. I mean, because your husband's white, and your daughter's black. Whether we call it biracial,
she's black. She's
still
black. Yeah,
black girl. Let's be clear. And and those, it's heartbreaking.
Yeah,
for me, it's heartbreaking.
I can only imagine. It's a lot to hold on to.
And and the cool thing though about my daughter is like she has surrounded herself with her tribe of people of all literally races, genders, ethnicities. She has surrounded herself with this tribe of young adults who are like, we're not going to prescribe to that.
Yeah.
We're not doing that.
Yeah.
It's like, if I say that I am, a Colombian pansexual, person, that's what you're gonna have to accept. And I love that. I love the conversations that they have. So that might be my little shred of hope.
Yeah. That's a good amount of hope. That is. And the reason I asked is because there has to be 2 different, completely different conversations, obviously, with your children.
All the time.
Only imagine.
Yeah.
Well, before we go, is there anything that you're working on currently that you can let everybody know about?
Go to well, we have nothing up right now. We're working on Pride. We're celebrations during Pride again this year, which we're very excited about.
Awesome.
Virtual Pride. We're doing it LGBTQI, all those letters for 6 days, and the A is all of y'all. And
that was you. That was you, wasn't it? You added the all of y'all.
All y'all. Still black.
It's just celebrationtheater.org.
Celebrationtheater.org, and theater is spelled with an R-E, the way it should be.
Yes. Awesome. Michael, thank you so much for chatting with me. I could talk to you for hours. We could.
This is the easiest. I've been busy, and you've asked me to come on before, and I just I've been so busy, but this was so easy. I'm doing this all the time now.
Yes. Yes, I will definitely have you back. Make sure can they follow you? Are your pages public?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, I'm at my 5,000 limit on the Facebook. But you can follow me,
Mr. Popular.
I know. On Instagram at ShepDog1122, DAWG, ShepDog1122, and at M.A. Shepperd on Twitter.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And to the listeners, make sure you subscribe to We Need to Talk on Apple Podcasts, and we'll talk to you again next week.
Right.
Bye.